But first, that big story that we are tracking through the day. Nationwide trouble now brewing for Nestle India and its product Maggi Noodles. The Kerala government has issued an order to temporarily stop the distribution of Maggi Noodles from over 1,000 retail outlets in the state. The Delhi government has termed the consumption of noodles unsafe after lab tests conducted by it were found to have high content of lead in the product. The Kejriwal government has decided to initiate action against Nestle India. The states of Karnataka, Haryana and West Bengal have now sent Maggi samples for testing. In a related development, a Bihar court has ordered an FIR to be registered against the product's banned ambassadors, Amitabh Bachchan, Madhuri Dixit and Preeti Zinta. Nestle India, which manufactures the noodles, has contradicted the report and after conducting an independent test, says the presence of lead is within permissible limits. But the big story, of course, is it just about Maggi noodles or are packaged foods simply a health hazard? India is the world's 5th largest exporter, producer and consumer of packaged foods. People are still unaware, though, of the perils of what they're consuming. A reality check and a wake-up call now for our viewers at the top of the News Today at 9.
Instant noodles making for an instant controversy. Maggi noodles may have been in soup recently for its ingredients, but the story goes beyond an instant controversy. The meteoric rise in consumption of packaged food proving to be one of the major health hazards.
Sample this. India is now the 5th largest exporter, producer and consumer of processed food. The contribution of this industry to the GDP is growing at close to 10% every year. There's a 20% increase in investment annually in this sector.
So why should this growth story be a cause of worry for you, the consumer? India Today did a reality check on whether consumers know what goes into increasing the shelf life of your packaged food.
As far as the consumers are concerned, not many of them appreciating the fact that it has had lead content and of course dangerous contents in it that were dangerous, and of course the wholesale and consumption has taken a big hit as far as Kolkata is concerned.
We have been speaking to quite a few people and they have been saying that they look at the contents, expiry and manufacturing date of anything that they buy and only then do they pay for it.
The government has taken a safe side and has stopped the sale of Maggi across all the state civil supplies outlets in the state. But the product is still available in plenty across thousands of private outlets in Kerala. Even if the product is completely banned, it will take some time before the kids and teenagers can take their favorite instant food down the shelves.
Long-term exposures to sodium-based salts and high amounts of calcium, potassium and benzoate-based preservatives have a known effect on the human body. Excessive consumption commonly becomes toxic for the body, affecting organs like kidney, heart and liver.
Whatever you may do to the processed food, the fact of the matter is it is definitely unhealthy as compared to what you cook at home. The emphasis or the effort of the government should be to create awareness, to educate people, to shift from processed food to cooking at home.
Maggi may be the flavor of the season for the moment, but the threat from packaged food is here to stay. And while the government may decide to fix accountability on companies part of this booming sector, here's some food for thought. Jago Grahak Jago. Bureau Report, India Today.
So the first big question, are packaged foods actually a health hazard? What's the true story here in Maggi being in a soup? Joining me now, Bejon Mishra, Chairman of the Cell for Consumer Education and Advocacy, Dr. Shikha Sharma, one of the country's leading nutritionists and wellness advisors, and we'll be joined shortly by Sunil Alat, former Managing Director and CEO of Britannia Industries. Appreciate all of you joining us. I just want to get a sense from you, Shikha Sharma. In your view, is Maggi noodles or indeed packaged foods in general, are they seen to be a health hazard or not? Are we exaggerating the nature of the problem?
See, there are two aspects to this. The first aspect is that all packaged foods have a lot of trans fats, high on fats, high on salt, high on chemicals, preservatives. So in general, they're anyway not healthy and should not be taken on a daily basis as kids do. The other part is contaminants in this packed food, which is a double health hazard because there shouldn't be any contaminants like lead at all or MSG at all.
You know, let's specifically for a moment then look at Maggi. Were you surprised when the Lucknow Food Safety and Drug Administration does a test on Maggi and says test result showed Maggi containing 17 parts per million lead, whereas the permissible limit is 0.01 per million lead? Do you believe that this is surprising? Is it possible to be, for a product to be so far ahead of the permissible limit? Is that something that could happen with packaged foods?
See, it could happen with packaged food, but the surprise factor is Maggi, because it's not a new product. It's been in the market for now several years, or more than a decade, I'm sure.
Yes.
So that's the surprising, that this brand containing this level of lead is surprising.
You know, Bejon Mishra, what is interesting is that suddenly we seem to have discovered, after having had Maggi for years, we suddenly seem to be seeing that Maggi is a health hazard. Where is the problem? Is the problem with the fact that the Barabanki administration suddenly gets into action, says that Maggi has violated limits, and now across the country, with the sole exception of Goa, which has now apparently just told us, our reporter, that Maggi is within the permissible limits, everyone else is saying, including the Delhi government today, that Maggi is violating the permissible limits. How suddenly after all these years have we discovered that there is a problem with Maggi?
It is because, you see, we don't have an efficient, effective food regulatory mechanism existing in the states. You see, we went ahead, you know, I remember 30 years back when I just joined the movement, there was a occasion when we had to point out that MSG were used in food packets, but no advisory were given. You know, like it is not fit for infant, not fit for pregnant women, to which, you see, including Nestle, gave a statement later on that we are henceforth not going to use MSG in our any food products because we don't want to use that advisory. So that was a good step which the industry took at that point of time. But what we failed to understand, that when they gave a statement like this and when they said that they are not using MSG, then how come suddenly MSG was found in the food packet? Which means that the regulator intentionally had an oversight, or they have been party to it.
Intentionally, for over a decade and more, regulators across the country have intentionally not shown that, that Maggi was violating laws.
Rajdeep, I am not surprised at all, because the Food Safety and Standards Act came into existence in 2006. And till today, there are states who don't have a designated officer designated for controlling the food contaminants or substandard food or harmful food or unsafe food in our country.
You know, because I have got from the Center for Science and Environment that India has no regulation related to trans fats, for example, in packaged foods. There are mere labeling requirements in packaged food products where the amount of trans fats is less than 0.2 gm per serving. Manufacturers are allowed to label it as trans fat free. So I might put some milk on my cereal, which people say is trans fat free. Is that true? Do you believe the time has come? What this case is really showing is that you need clearer, more transparent rules and regulations to be put in place.
No, we see the regulations are all in place. What we need is an effective, efficient food regulator working in our country at the state level, at the district level, at the taluka level, to ensure that all the food which is being sold to the consumers and accessed by the consumers are safe and healthy.
How are you going to do it in a country as large as ours? How are you going to ensure that every
we have all the money, we have all the resources, we have all the mechanisms. There are people who have been paid salary to do that work. They are supposed to pick up samples regularly and test them.
Are you saying the Food and Drug Administration has not done that for the last decade and a half? Suddenly has discovered that
they have been doing it. They have been doing it behind our back. They have never been transparent. They are never showing to the public what they are doing, what they are accountable to, and they are picking up samples at their mercy. They are sending it to the food testing laboratory, but they don't claim results. When they wake up, when they want certain things to be done, then they go ahead chasing it.
You know, that's interesting that the Food and Drug Administration suddenly seems to wake up, and I'll come back to that point because Sunil Alag, former CEO of Britannia Industries, joined me. You know, Mr. Alag, I know you're no longer with Britannia, but Britannia, like many industries, and now Nestle, finding itself in a spot of bother over Maggi. When we buy any packed food product, we look for reassuring words on those products. No trans fats, no preservatives, no monosodium glutamate. Now the fact is that there are, despite you putting all this on the packet, there are these hidden ingredients that exist. have companies been willfully misleading the consumer all these years, or is it simply a problem of lack of regulation?
See, this MSG which you are talking about has to be physically added, because the only thing that's available in various things is glutamate by itself. I have absolutely no idea how a laboratory in India or anywhere in the world can detect MSG unless the label says we have added MSG. I don't think Maggi, I'm just saying Maggi has anything at the label which says that MSG has been added into their product. So I believe some more results. I'm not defending Maggi at the moment, and please,
no, why you will? No, do you believe companies are willfully? Do you believe packaged food companies
made by a number of companies?
Do you believe packaged food companies are willfully misleading the consumer? That's the question I asked.
I think there's a lot of willful misleading in advertising. I think they stretch what a product can do, and that's where any particular model or any spokesperson comes into play. He has to or she has to be sure. For instance, I will go on to say, where can there be misleading? Misleading can be you take a product of cornflakes and say, oh, I have these cornflakes and I lose 5 kilos. Now you only lose 5 kilos if you only eat the cornflakes and nothing else for the rest of the day. They forget to communicate that.
Yes.
So to think that a particular brand of cornflakes can lead to a 5 kilo loss is misleading. That is where the misleading part comes in. It is not that if you willfully mislead by saying I have fat in my product, and when you say I am a product which is diabetic friendly, and then you're adding sugar, that's misleading. But if you say you're diabetic friendly, like some biscuits are now claiming, they must identify, because if a person thinks diabetic friendly means a diabetic patient can have it freely without consulting a doctor, you're misleading again. So where are we going wrong? It is when you communicate what the product can do for you and it can't. And that's where the misleading takes place. Very rarely do multinationals willfully mislead, because they are not worried anymore about India. Can I believe it? Because when Maggi fails here,
just hold on.
In China,
just hold on,
in Japan, that milk product of Nestle or someone of one product failed. It failed worldwide. So
you want to respond
worldwide about a product?
Okay, let John respond. Yes.
Rajdeep, that's not true. It's not that the multinational companies don't do it. It's not true. They do it in our country because they see that the law is very lenient. The law is not effective. The law is not efficient. So they go ahead doing it. And we have several instances.
Give me one.
Which package product?
There are instances where you're not supposed to be saying, as per law, that it cures diabetes or it's for diabetic patients, and under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. And they go ahead to claim that. You see, they go ahead to claim, like Sunil just now said, that you claim that you will lose weight.
No, but they don't give a rider. But all cereals, for example, say that they are nutritious. All cereals say they are nutritious. Biscuits say they are nutritious.
See, Rajdeep,
one by one,
the definition for healthy food is very clear. It has all the clarity. You see, the issue is consumers want choice. Packaged food is part of that basket.
No, that's exactly it. Hold on. That's exactly it. Shikha Sharma, packaged food is today for a generation which is on the move. They want choice. They want choice. They also want to consume their food in a particular way.
Correct.
Therefore, in your view, when a cereal brand, let's say, or a biscuit brand says, look, we are nutritious, we are providing you additional protein, should we go by it or not?
So there are two aspects to this. One is advertisements misleading or over promising something which is not there. That is a different issue. Here maybe the issue is more that something which is toxic to the human brain, toxic to the children, how did that land up in that packet? So suppose tomorrow cornflakes says that I can give you weight loss, that might be misleading. But if actually lead ends up in cornflakes, that is harmful. Now there are two problems here again. One is the quality testing done by the company itself, and the second is the quality testing done by independent authorities, which are government authorities. At both ends, both have failed.
Let's be clear. Are we saying this is a failure? Therefore, what the Maggi case is showing is a failure of regulation?
Absolutely.
Or are we saying that this is a failure on the part of some of the countries of the world's leading MNCs to maintain the same standards in India that they perhaps would be forced to maintain in the West?
Absolutely. Rajdeep, you know that the world standards are getting harmonized under the Codex, where all the food standards of the world are getting harmonized. You see, there was a strong kind of an intervention done by the industry that there should not be any kind of an advisory given in terms of when you use MSG, because MSG is acceptable globally, okay, as a enhancer of flavor, as a flavor enhancer. But nobody says that it has to be used in a particular limit. You cannot go beyond that limit.
Can I bring you in there, Sunil? Do you believe a Nestle or let's say a Britannia would observe the same rules in India that they do in the West? This is a question that is often asked. That is India a place where you will perhaps put in the additional MSG and not inform the consumer because you believe you can get away with it?
Yes, that's true.
No, I think if they do this, from the managing director down must go to jail. I do not believe that they have the authority to do any of this nature, especially from a multinational company. And I can tell you, the MD will lose his job. I just want to ask Dr. Sharma, please tell me one laboratory in the world which can detect MSG unless it's added in as a flavor. And if you say it's not added in, you have to look at the back of the pack. From what I gather now, this pack which was picked up of Maggi had expired last year. One pack has been picked up by a Calcutta lab and we've gone to town on it.
Are you saying this is a conspiracy?
600 labs now check this product out.
Are you saying therefore that the FDA...
both external and internal, and have found nothing.
Are you saying that the FDA has deliberately gone after Maggi? Are you saying that FDA has deliberately gone after Maggi?
I am saying, no, I am not blaming anybody. No, not FDA has not gone deliberately after. You take a look at what happened with Cadbury's when they found a worm in a pack. Okay, and you remember when Amitabh Bachchan had to come out and then say, look, I've gone to the factory, I'm changing everything, because what the debate was, did it happen in storage or did it happen in the factory? And finally, what happened was that there was something wrong with the packaging and not wrong with the chocolate. Now they come out with completely sealed products. They apologize, saying it's possible the way we store in our retailers. The question of MSG and the question of now 700 laboratories will be testing this product. And if 699 say it's okay, will you believe that one laboratory in Calcutta, or will you believe 699 all over the world?
Let me ask
all the facts taken from India. So you can have competitors also. I'm not for 1 minute saying this. Competitors can cause damage in one laboratory with one pack. How many packs were tested is what I want to ask.
Okay, can I get that from Bejan?
Was it an expired pack? Or was it a pack which was still supposed to be consumed? If you take a pack which is 2 years old and then say, look, I found X, Y or Z in it, it can happen with medicines. Why only with any product? They say after a pack expires, you're supposed to throw it away. So you can claim that no expired pack should be sold. But to say I test one pack which is 2 years old and say your biscuits are crumbling and it's tasteless and everything is wrong and therefore I'm dying because I ate it.
Can I just
want to read at the pack that it's expired a long time ago and then you blame the company for it? Look, come on. I mean, also let's
hold on now,
blame companies, blindly.
Hold on. Let me therefore end this by asking you first, Bejan. How are we in the Maggi case? Our consumer activist is going to say if even one packet of Maggi is found to contain excess lead or MSG, that means that Maggi products must come under greater scrutiny. Even if one test.
Absolutely, because that is the sampling process. You see,
out of 700, if even one sample is found.
See, the point is statistically significant sampling has to be done, number one. Number two, when you do based on certain criteria of statistics which will create an evidence which the regulator is supposed to follow when they pick up samples from the market, and they are supposed to adhere to that. You see, my question, Rajdeep, is India is today importing huge quantity of MSG. Nobody knows where that MSG is being used and in what manner it is being used.
So you're just calling for stronger regulation. You believe it's a failure of the regulatory framework
when you are allowing imports, when the imports has been allowed, this ingredient is coming into our market. How it is being used is the regulator's responsibility to ensure that.
Okay. Shikha Sharma, tomorrow should I go and have Maggi for lunch? Should I have my cereals for breakfast? Should I have my biscuits after dinner, or should I be worried after this case? Are we exaggerating the fears, or do you believe there is a real problem?
I think in India, in the absence of a good regulator, and there is a fear, definitely, because I think there is this incident has highlighted that our regulatory system operationally, executive body is extremely weak, and once in a while picking up a Coke or a Pepsi or a chocolate or a Maggi doesn't help the consumers, because there are millions of them eating it every day. I would be worried, yes.
You would be worried?
Yes.
Okay, so we need, and the bottom line, we need transparency. We need transparency from the MNCs, we need transparency from the FDA.
Accountability.
And accountability, good word. And accountability on part of the regulatory framework as well as the companies which are making these products. Tomorrow morning, I will be a little careful while having my cereal, but I will probably have it still. Thank you very much for joining me at the top of the news today at 9.